Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here. It is the 28th of July, 2021. What is it, Wednesday now? I think it is. I am back from vacation. It was nice visiting Florida. Great people down there. Good service from the different service industry folks that we patronized. You know, this pandemic hangover that we still have going on. A lot of places are having supply chain problems and staffing problems. And it wasn't too bad in Florida. So it was a nice time to relax with family. Show them some of the stops along the old hurricane highway from my more than 20 years of intercepting hurricanes. And now it's time to focus on the tropics once again. It's good to be back in the office here in Wilmington, North Carolina. So glad you could join in. Let's get on with it, shall we? Looking ahead to August, the first of the trio of months that we consider the peak of the hurricane season. What can we expect? Well, working from east to west, nothing in the Atlantic over the next couple of days. Maybe something in the Pacific. Most of the systems that are going to develop out this way, and we don't see it yet right here, showing up in the outlook, but it's coming. I think we're going to have some activity brewing here. We got this system here. All of this should move off to the west with time, simply because of the strong high pressure area that we have out there. And that's part of what I'm going to talk about in just a moment related to the state of the ENSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation phenomenon. And you know what? If you're headed out to Hawaii, no problems there as well. Looking at the satellite animation, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits. Kind of active, convectively speaking, over here in the East Pacific, but nothing coming together rapidly, so no problems. And especially for Mexico, if you're heading out that area, or you live there, nothing to worry about in the near term. I don't see anything brewing in the modeling. I'll show you that in just a minute on the GFS. In the Caribbean, a little system here entering the windwards and leewards, but, aside from some potential heavy rain, which can be a problem, nothing organized with that, and only scattered convection in and around these areas of the Caribbean and the Gulf, and a front trying to wash out here in the Carolinas. And that is about it. We move out to the east and show the rest of the Atlantic Basin. Kind of nice monsoon trough setting up off the coast of Africa, as we get a more active pattern out here with divergent flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And in the lower levels, the winds are going to switch to become westerly at about the 5,000 foot level, whereas at that same altitude and even higher, the winds are coming in from the east this way, and that helps to sort of generate this spin out here, part of this new sort of transition that we're going into, a slow progress and process towards a more active pattern. It's going to take some time though, but I think once we get to about mid-August, maybe even at the latest, we're going to really start to see the global models picking up on stuff, and it's going to happen very much like a light switch getting turned on, that the Atlantic's going to suddenly become very favorable, I do believe. So get used to watching this for just a little while longer, and then forget about it. It's going to change. It's going to become a lot busier as we move ahead into August. All right, real quick in the Eastern Pacific, we'll just slide this through. You see those impulses down there? Nothing really closing off of any, substance, if you will. And if they do, they move on to the west. Maybe something that Hawaii would have to watch way out in time. This is more than a week out. We go back in time there. You can see that active pattern there right along. Let's use a color that we can see. How about green? This is pretty active through here, kind of like a grapevine, and then you get these grapes that ripen along that, I guess is a good way to put it. But they all move out to the west with time, and nothing really intense. So we'll see. Once this dies down, by the way, once we see a less active pattern over this area through here, the Atlantic will really start to light up, I do believe. And part of that is related to this. Look at that. That's back in June, through the latter part of June into July. Whoa, what happened? Look at all that cold, the anomalies that showed up. First, we had all this warmth. Again, marked with a color we can see. It just blends in. So we go back to the early parts of June here, if it'll recycle. And of course, it's done with its animation. And that's fine, because this is what I want to show you anyway. But we went from all this subsurface warmth that was through here, and rapidly, within a month's time, transitioned over to this very cold look to the subsurface tropical Pacific. and this is going to upwell with time, and we're already getting these cold anomalies at the surface. Erased all of those positive anomalies, and you know what? That shows up very well on the surface chart here with the anomalies from the NOAA Coral Reef Watch map. There you go. That's what it looks like at the surface. Just a little bit of warmth left over in the far eastern Pacific, and at the same time, this Atlantic Nino, as it is called, the warming of the main development region, the Gulf has warmed, all of it, above normal now, and in some cases, it is downright sultry. I remember the Keys were very warm when I was down there. Northwest Atlantic is warm. It's all setting up to give us a very busy latter part of August into September and October. And do remember that it is typical to see kind of a flat curve through June and July, and then it really ramps up towards the end of August. You know, the climatological peak of the season coming up in September. And I think we're going to follow that very closely this year. And once we get to the latter part of August, that's it. You know, time's up. People had better be prepared, because this is the background look that is going to give us a very busy peak time to this season, I do believe. So there you go. Enjoy the quiet while it lasts. Lower 48 weather, real quick. Lots of heat advisories all the way through the deep south and into the upper Midwest. This is going to shift westward with time and eventually spread back out over the west, the far west, if you will. In fact, that's where I'm headed on Sunday. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But for today, we got to watch this region right through here as the potential for a very intense line of thunderstorms develops. This derecho, as it is called, could move through that area. We do have a camera there. It's right here in the Fox Lake area. One of our supporters, Chris, from out in Washington State, arranged for this to get set up for us. This is what it looks like right now. It's going to be interesting to see if some of that thunderstorm activity moves through. It could get kind of rough here out in the Fox Lake area. I'll zoom in just to show you generally where this is. That the worst of the weather should slide kind of like through here, perhaps, maybe a corridor like that. But it could drop south enough. Maybe Chicago and the northwest suburbs could be impacted, and we'll see what our camera shows. Be sure, seriously, I know this is HurricaneTrack, but we do cover other weather because the key is being aware. This could be a really big problem with very high wind, tremendous amounts of lightning, and the possibility of just incredible rainfall rates. So if you live in that area, definitely check out weather.gov, weather.gov. Make sure you've got your alerts. You know, don't put your phone on Do Not Disturb this evening, because you're going to miss those warnings, all right? So, you know, it's hurricane season, but it's also still the warm season in the northern hemisphere, and these big mesoscale convective complexes, as we call them, or derechos, whatever, they can be problematic. So keep your eyes out for that. Real quick, what other people are saying in Twitter and on Twitter, whatever, social media. TC Alert, I follow this high school student, and why not? They post some good stuff. I need to message them one day and find out who are you? Where do you live? But anyway, I like what they post. Some smart people out there, I tell you. Active, well, let's just start over. Slow down, Mark. While Africa is convectively suppressed because of a myriad of unfavorable forcing, the MJO and the CCKW in this case, it's just a lot of sinking air, basically. This is about to change as another convectively coupled Kelvin wave, that's what that means right there, is going to move into the basin, and you can see that reflected in this diagram, meaning weakened trade winds and increased convection tending to result following the passage of that. And we can already see that starting to come together on that image that I showed you right here. In fact, let's just go to this one over Africa. There it is setting up there now, just a little bit of an increase in convection, lots of energy over Africa. I thoroughly expect that all of this will become much more active in the coming days as that convectively coupled Kelvin wave starts to manifest itself and move through the Atlantic there. It's kind of like a Red Bull, a shot of Red Bull for the tropics is a way to look at it. And sometimes they can lead to the development of a larger wave, if you will, or wave of energy, upward motion, decrease in shear, more moisture, more vorticity, and other forcing attributes. It's complicated, but we can track this stuff. There's some very smart people out there that keep an eye on this kind of thing, and we generally know when these windows of opportunity are going to open, and this small one is going to come through, and then the bigger one comes through later in August. So again, seriously, take this time to finish up whatever prep work you have. Call the insurance company, just get a checkup on what your policy does and does not cover. If you need flood insurance, you should do it now. There's a 30-day waiting period. You can't get it when the big hurricane is knocking on the door. It doesn't work like that. That's the way it goes, all right? Got to have you prepared. I will inform you on the front end, get you ready ahead of time, but it's up to you to take the action to make sure you know what to do, when to do it. Keep yourself safe, keep your property as protected as possible. You know, that's what it's all about, all right? So we're about to end July, getting into August, and we will see what happens. Like I said, will be heading out to Arizona. On Sunday, I'll talk about that more tomorrow. Going to check out the monsoon action. It's, ebbing and flowing. I'll be going out kind of between the ebbs and the flows, it looks like. Going to do some interviews with a few people for our Hurricane Highway series, and some research into old tropical cyclone events, some of these systems that have come up out of the Pacific. I'll just draw on this map for a second. Sometimes these systems come up and they end up here in the desert Southwest, coming into the Sonoran Desert. And to me, that's very, very fascinating. And that's why I'm heading out there on Sunday to talk about all that. I'll do some reports for our patrons and things like that. But I'll talk about it more tomorrow. All right? That is it from me for this Wednesday. Thanks as always for tuning in. Don't forget, I am on the social media circuit, well, some of it anyway, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. The brand is HurricaneTrack. You see the logo there, easy to find. And we are crowdfunded by a great group of people on Patreon, patreon.com, and the app. Check it out, patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. I'm Mark Sutta. Thanks for giving me some time today to listen to what I've got to say. I appreciate it. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.